Today's event is interactive.
Have you ever found yourself immobilized by indecision, unable to make a choice, and unable to move forward? Today, we explore the concept of decision paralysis, how it affects us, and ways to overcome it. I want to share with you a story on how I learned indecision from a character I once portrayed. Back when I was studying decision science, I had the opportunity to learn about indecision in an unexpected way, through playing Hamlet in a university production. Hamlet, as many of you know, is a character who embodies indecision. He's torn between avenging his father's death and grappling with the moral implications of his actions. This internal conflict is most famously captured in his soliloquy, To Be or Not to Be, where he debates the merits of his own existence. Hamlet's hesitation and self-doubt mirror our own struggles when faced with difficult decisions. As a professor of decision science, I study how people make these difficult decisions. My work at the White House Behavioral Sciences team, as well as the Space Force Decisions Administration, has given me insights on how to help people navigate complex choices. But despite my expertise, I still grapple with indecision. This boy from Dublin, playing tug of war, represents my daily struggles. I've wrestled with trivial decisions, like choosing a fast food restaurant to DoorDash from, selecting the perfect Instagram filter for my next post, and deciding whether I want to fold my laundry now or fold it later. And regardless of these difficult decisions, I've also struggled with bigger decisions, like whether or not I want a stable job in decision science or to become a professional video game streamer. One struggle I vividly remember was the first time I walked into a bookstore looking for a novel to read. I was in paradise for a book lover, with shelves upon shelves of beautiful books. It seemed intriguing, all the titles and the cover art, but I spent what seemed like hours browsing through options, reading synopses, and getting lost in the sea of possibilities. But the abundance of choice became overwhelming. I left without buying anything, paralyzed by indecision, and this experience made me realize the sheer number of options and how immobilizing it can be. Yes.
Hi, I'm Eveline. I just want to say that the paralysis you described resonates with me deeply. It kept me from leaving my home in Dublin and starting a new life abroad with a man I met named Frank. I yearned to break free from my monotonous job and strained family relations, but I felt paralyzed by the uncertainty. I kept on asking myself, what would they say of me in the stores when they found out that I had run away with a fellow? I thought they would simply call me a fool.
Thank you, Eveline. Your story is a clear example of how the fear of the unknown and our concern about societal expectations affects our judgment and can lead to paralysis. Eveline's struggle to leave her home and embrace a new life with Frank is a direct example of how external pressures and internal fears can combine to paralyze us. Let's delve deeper into this fear of regret, another major factor in decision paralysis. The fear of making the wrong choice can be so overwhelming that it prevents us from making any decision at all. Hamlet's soliloquy encapsulates this perfectly. His fear of the possible consequences of his actions trap him in a state of perpetual indecision and inaction. The cost of indecision is perhaps best epitomized by the paradox of Buridan's ass. Here in this story, a hungry donkey is placed in between two equally appealing bales of hay. The donkey cannot decide which to eat first, and while pondering his decision, he starves to death. The moral of the story is sometimes it's better to choose something than to choose nothing. Only an ass would do otherwise. No, yes.
Hello, my name is Thomas Chandler, and I live in Dublin. I've actually experienced this in my career. You see, I used to have the dream of becoming a poet for a long time, but I never actually wrote anything. I was constantly torn between the stability of my current job as a clerk in the King's Inn and my dream. I always felt that melancholy took possession of me, and I saw how useless it was to struggle against fortune, this being the burden of wisdom which the ages had, bequeathed on me. Ultimately, though, my own timidity and pessimism kept me in a safe but very unfulfilling position.
Exactly, Chandler. Thank you for sharing. Your dilemma shows us the internal conflict that many of us face when balancing our dreams with practical realities. The fear of regret can be a powerful force that prevents us from pursuing our true passions and aspirations. In my professional work, I've seen how decision paralysis can affect people in significant ways. For example, while working with the Space Force Decisions Administration, we encountered a challenging situation. We had to pick a name for a new spacecraft. You'd think with all the brilliant minds on the team it would be easy. Well, it wasn't. And we had so many suggestions from Star Voyager to Galaxy Glider that we ended up debating for days without making a decision. The overwhelming number of great options led to inaction. We ended up naming it unnamed as a placeholder, and it inevitably stuck. So how do we overcome this decision paralysis? One effective strategy is delegation. By seeking advice or letting someone else help us, we can move past our indecision. For example, the next time I went to a bookstore, I asked the staff member, "Give me a recommendation." And by delegating the decision, I walked away with a fantastic book. This simple act of asking for help made a significant difference on my life. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for asking. My name is Farrington, and I'm a copyist who also lives in Dublin. By a delegation point, I just want to say thank you for bringing that up because I wish I thought of that. Instead, I've been stuck in the same job for God who knows how long, and I cannot decide on a different path. I feel humiliated and discontented, and when I drink, I don't even feel drunk. I've really been in a cycle of frustration and resentment. But hopefully, if I copy you, I'll be able to make some sort of change. Thank you.
Farrington, thank you. I will say that delegation isn't just about shirking responsibility, but it's about leveraging the support you have around you to make better decisions. Studies show that people are more likely to make a choice when they have the option to delegate, especially when they're faced with many similar options. By sharing this decision-making process with each other, we can reduce the burden of choice and gain clarity. I want to say thank you all today for coming, and have a nice day.